Idaho is blessed with abundant, productive forest land. Many Idaho citizens are not aware of our state laws regarding timber harvest and forestry practices. This video provides an orientation to the key points of the Idaho Forest Practices Act and how it is administered. In 1974, the Idaho legislature passed a law called the Idaho Forest Practices Act, called FPA for short, to make sure landowners and operators steward forest resources for future generations. Idaho's forest resources are very important to our economy and quality of life, but not everyone agreed on the best way to take care of them for future generations. The Idaho Forest Practices Act was passed to set up minimum forestry BMPs to assure the continuous growing and harvesting of forest tree species and to protect and maintain forest soil, air, water resources, wildlife, and aquatic habitat. BMP stands for Best Management Practices. BMPs are the most effective and feasible means of preventing or reducing eroded sediment and other non-point pollution generated by a forest practice. Forestry BMPs are set by the Idaho Board of Land Commissioners, which receives technical advice from the Idaho Forest Practices Advisory Committee. This advisory committee has 9 members who are all experienced in forest practices. The committee includes a fisheries biologist, 3 forest owners, including 1 family forest owner, 2 forest operators, 2 informed citizens, and an at-large member. For categories with more than 1 person, at least 1 is from northern Idaho and another is from southern Idaho. FPA laws are administered by forest practice advisors who work for the Idaho Department of Lands. They inspect forest operations for compliance with FPA regulations. They also provide on-site technical assistance to help landowners and operators maintain forest water quality and comply with minimum FPA requirements. Before starting any forest management practice, the landowner or the operator, usually the operator, must submit a notification of forest practice to the local Idaho Department of Lands office. This notice is required for any activities related to timber harvest or thinning, building or improving roads and skid trails used to harvest timber, pesticide or fertilizer application, or prescribed fire. After accepting notification, the local IDL office sends all parties involved in the practice a copy. Then FPA advisors may visit the site and make sure operations are complying with minimum FPA requirements. FPA notification is not required for the following: forest activities where commercial products are not removed, routine road maintenance, grazing, Christmas tree plantations, non-timber forest product harvest, non-commercial cutting of trees for personal use, or clearing forest land for mining. FPA advisors inspect for compliance with BMPs in 5 areas: timber harvest, road and skid trail construction, reforestation, slash management, and pesticide and fertilizer use. Essentially, FPA requires that timber harvests maintain the productivity of forest land, minimize soil and debris entering streams, and protect fish and wildlife habitat. Most FPA regulations related to timber harvest are designed to reduce soil erosion and keep sediment out of streams. For example, inspections make sure logging methods are adapted to the site. For example, tractor or wheeled skidding can't be used on unstable, saturated, or easily compacted soils, steep slopes, or riparian areas. Skid trails aren't constructed on unstable, saturated, or easily compacted soils or over 30% grades. FPA advisors also make sure activity is limited in stream protection zones. FPA emphasizes protecting forest water quality. The most critical area where water quality can be affected is near streams. So FPA has several terms to define stream resources. Class 1 streams are used for either domestic water supply or by fish for spawning, rearing, or migration. Class 2 streams are usually headwater streams or minor drainages. Their main importance is their influence on Class 1 streams, on water quality or quantity downstream. Both of these types of streams have stream protection zones, or SPZs, which serve as a buffer zone to protect the stream. Class 1 stream protection zones include an area encompassed by a slope distance of 75 feet on each side of the ordinary high water marks of the stream. Landowners can choose between two options within Class 1 SPZs. The first option leaves many trees within 25 feet of the stream and a moderate number beyond. The second option leaves many trees within 50 feet of the stream and fewer beyond. Class 2 stream protection zones usually include an area encompassed by a slope distance of 30 feet on each side of the ordinary high water marks of the stream. Within SPZs, stream crossing structures must be placed at right angles to the stream and be appropriately sized for the stream. No equipment can enter the stream protection zone, though some trees may sometimes be removed using cables if it doesn't injure the area. Slash, logging waste, and litter must not be left in the stream. A specified minimum number of trees and snags must be left within the SPZ to provide shade, soil stabilization, wildlife cover, and large organic debris for future fish habitat and stream stability. FPA BMPs can sometimes be customized for unique situations. FPA advisors can work with the landowner to develop a site-specific riparian prescription if warranted. Streams are not the only thing checked at harvests. FPA advisors also look at many other harvest features to make sure the size, number, and placement of roads, skid trails, landings, and fire trails is appropriate. The size of machinery used is appropriate for the conditions. Fill material used in landings is free of loose stumps and excessive slash and stabilized with a grass seating. Skid trails, fire trails, and landings have drainage devices such as water bars, cross drains, outslopes, and seeding to prevent sediment from reaching streams. And logging and thinning debris is not left in places where high water or erosion can send it to streams. Prompt cleanup and recovery near scenic areas is also encouraged. Anytime you disturb soil in a forest operation, there's probably an FPA guideline to consider. Again, the purpose of most FPA rules is to help landowners and operators keep sediment out of streams. Roads and skid trails are the primary source of erosion from timber harvest or other forest management activities. Careless construction and use of forest roads is one of the easiest ways to send sediment to streams. So, roads and skid trails get a lot of attention. FPA advisors try to make sure operators minimize construction within stream protection zones. They encourage people to use existing roads when possible and appropriate. Minimize road width and distance. Dispose of road waste on sites where it won't cause further erosion, especially near streams. Minimize cut and fill volumes by designing roads to fit the natural terrain as much as possible. Install adequate drainage into roads and skid trails as soon as possible after construction. Build drainage into roads by outsloping or insloping with cross drainage. Install relief culverts and roadside ditches where necessary. And make sure roads crossing Class 1 streams allow fish passage. IDL also makes sure operators clear drainages of debris from road construction or maintenance. Stabilize erodible soils on cut and fill slopes with grass seedings, compacting, riprap, benching, or mulching. minimize snow and woody debris and road fill, maintain roads during and after harvest and year-round if they are used that often, keep side-casted material from entering streams, repair and stabilize slumps, slides, and other erosion, and block inactive or abandoned roads seasonally or permanently. Soil erosion is not the only thing regulated by FPA, however. Many other factors affect water quality and other forest values. For example, after harvesting timber, FPA requires reforestation by either planting or natural seeding. Land must be reforested within 5 growing seasons after harvest reduces the number of acceptable trees below required stocking levels. Stocking levels vary. Fewer trees per acre are required if large trees are left. Also, drier forest types require fewer trees per acre than moist forest types. If there aren't enough trees within 3 growing seasons after harvest, extra tree planting may be required to make sure the minimum stocking is reached in 5 years. Reforestation is not required for non-commercial forest land that grows less than 20 cubic feet per acre of wood per year, land being converted to another use, and tracts smaller than 10 acres, though these must have some kind of cover within 1 year. FPA also regulates chemical and fertilizer use on forests to make sure public health and aquatic and wildlife habitat are not endangered. For restricted use pesticides, applicators must have an appropriate state license, always follow label directions, keep a detailed daily record of chemical applications, use leak-proof equipment for transportation, storage, and application, and provide an air gap or reservoir between the water source and the mixing tank mixing chemicals, and use uncontaminated tanks, pump, hoses, and screens. Applicators must also place landing in mixing areas where pesticide or fertilizer spills will not enter any water source or stream. Aerial applications require a 100-foot buffer from all open water, 50 feet for pelletized fertilizer. Application devices must be capable of immediate shutoff. Ground applications with power equipment require a 25-foot buffer from open water, 10 feet for pelletized fertilizer. Applications made by hand must target specific areas such as a clump of brush or gopher burrow and stay well clear of streams. Chemical containers must also be removed from the forest and disposed of legally. Any spills must be reported and cleaned up, particularly if the chemical may have entered a body of water. Petroleum stored on forest sites must also be managed in a way that protects water quality. Petroleum containers with capacity for more than 200 gallons must be located more than 100 feet from water. Protective dikes, berms, and other measures must also be installed. Equipment must be leak-proof. Wildfire is always a big concern in Idaho. Slash can be a big wildfire hazard, so FPA also has minimum requirements for slash treatment to prevent fires. After the IDL receives a notice of forest practice, the IDL fire warden visits the site and uses a point system to determine the potential fire hazard and ways to reduce it. IDL notifies the operator and grants a written release when slash hazard is reduced to an acceptable level. The rules differ for slash created by activities that do not immediately produce commercial products, such as pre-commercial thinning. A mill cannot purchase logs or other forest products from the seller unless the seller has a copy of the FPA acceptance notice from IDL. So, it is vital to get an FPA acceptance before starting logging. After sending a notice of forest practice acceptance to the landowner, an IDL FPA advisor may come out and inspect the operation. If the IDL finds an improper practice, they usually try to work with the operator or landowner to get it fixed. If it isn't taken care of quickly, the IDL may issue a notice of violation. If it is still not taken care of, the department can issue a stop work order and shut down the operation until the problem is corrected. If the operator refuses to repair the damage, the Department of Lands will do it and use legal means to collect funds from the operator for the work. If you want to learn more about FPA, the IDL prints a small booklet with detailed explanations of FPA regulations. If you would like a copy, contact your local IDL office. By following the best management practices outlined in the Idaho Forest Practices Act, we're ensuring productive forest and water resources for our children and their children. This video provides the basics on the Idaho Forest Practices Act and how it works. But before you start a harvest, thinning, or other forest practice on your property, be sure to read through the written FPA regulations for more specifics on applying best management practices to your property. If you have questions on the Idaho Forest Practices Act, contact your local IDL Forest Practice Advisor.